Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report for the month of November. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with the effort to do away with the state income tax and replace it with a much higher state sales tax. The plan has been called the fair tax by some, but the everything tax might be a better name since it greatly expands the items and services subject to a state sales tax. Supporters of the idea are preparing to circulate initiative petitions soon with the goal of putting the so-called fair tax on next November's ballot. Former state budget director and current governmental relations consultant Jim Moody says the plan would likely result in a reduction in state revenue of at least $2 billion. And that's bad news for public schools.
Elementary and secondary education gets nearly $3 billion out of the roughly $7+ billion that's currently in the general fund. And so think about that. When we talk about at least a $2 billion shortfall, that's on a base of about $7 billion, $7+ billion. And if you're going to have to cut services, you're going to have to cut where the money currently goes. And a good portion of the money currently goes to elementary and secondary education. So I think they're in the crosshairs.
MSBA is strongly opposed to the so-called fair tax and urges citizens not to sign petitions to put it on a future ballot. The fair tax has been a major topic of discussion at MSBA's regional meetings this fall. Over the objections of some state legislators, the State Board of Education is moving ahead with an application for $60 million in federal funds to build a coordinated early childhood education system over the next 4 years. The grant would help improve and expand accessibility to quality early learning programs, especially by high-needs children before they start kindergarten. Some legislators don't like the plan because one requirement of the grant is that the state set up a rating system for preschools. State Board of Education Vice President Stan Archie told an audience at the recent MSBA annual conference, it's critical that the state create opportunities for learning across the board and at an earlier level.
We're recognizing that there is a real value and in some ways a variable that make or break the outcome in early childhood development. So if we're not in the early childhood development business, then there is no way we can reach the long-term outcomes that we're looking for. Because we recognize there's some critical things that happen during that age in the child's development, and if we don't capture and move those in the right direction, then we could run into the possibility of always being behind. And so those are some real things. If you look at our goals, early childhood is one of our primary focuses because we recognize that long-term success depends on that.
The federal grants will support efforts to increase the number of low-income and high-needs infants, toddlers, and preschoolers who are enrolled in high-quality early learning programs. Meanwhile, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education held a series of 5 public meetings across the state in late October to collect feedback on how the state can measure progress under the new MSIP-5 accreditation standards. The meetings are part of the process for developing the scoring guide for the new rules once they are in place. The State Board is expected to give final approval to the new accreditation standards at its meeting in December. Governor Jay Nixon has signed legislation which repeals a section of a bill passed by the General Assembly last spring and enacts a new section to address communications between school district employees and students. The law requires each school district to adopt a policy directed at the use of electronic communication between staff members and students. Districts also must draft their policies in a manner that will prevent improper communications. MSBA is developing a sample policy on the issue and will be distributing it to members in the next few weeks. School boards have until March 1, 2012 to adopt the policy. However, MSBA is sending the sample soon in order to allow school boards to meet with school district employees, parents, and others on the issue before adopting the policy. Well, it won't be long until filing opens for the April school board elections. Filing opens this year on December 13th in most school districts in the state and on December 20th in some school districts in the Kansas City area. Citizens with a sincere interest in their community's children and quality of their education are encouraged to consider running for the school board. In order to run for the school board, a candidate must be a citizen of the United States, a resident taxpayer of the school district, a resident of Missouri for at least 1 year, and at least 24 years old. Filing this year closes on January 17th. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.